Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. Hello there. I'm Belgian, so if I make any mistakes, I'm sorry. A little context first. Every year on the second Sunday of June, it's Father's Day. For Father's Day, I ordered and paid for a small wine rack with 6 wines in it online. So, on to the story. Names are changed, obviously. Characters. Character. Karen, 40-year-old woman without Karen haircut. Josh, a male employee in the store. Sarah, female employee in the store and friend of mine. Good guy Brian, Brian for short, store owner. Me, guess who? The store I ordered it has a regular line and a reserved line. The regular line, the usual. You get in after you took your stuff off the shelves. The reserve line is for people who order something online. This so they can get their stuff without having to wait in line. So the regular line was pretty long, 7 people, but the reserve line was free. So having ordered and paid online, I set myself in the reserve line. This did not sit well with a Karen, so you have to wait in the back of the line. Me, no I don't, Karen cuts me off. Karen, yes you do it against the law. Me, oh no, here we go, Mom, I've ordered online and cuts me off again. Karen, I don't care what you did or who you are. You have to wait in the back of the line like everyone else looking around for support. No one was with her. By this time, the Josh saw what was happening and tried to explain to Karen what was happening. Didn't really pay attention to the conversation, but she was off my back. So I give Sarah my order number. She goes to the back, comes back with my package, and I go home happy. I wish that happened. But this would not be a good one if it did, thought. So here's what happened. During the time that I gave my order and she got back with my package, the other employee was done explaining things to Karen. Don't know if he gave up or if Karen brushed him off in the end. But I get my package, turn around and see Karen storming to me. Takes my package out of my hands. I was a bit surprised how strong she was, and throws it on the ground. The wine rack foot was bent and 4 of the 6 bottles broken. Karen, there now you have to get a new one and stand in the back off the line like everyone else. Me, dumbfounded. Sarah, what the F takes phone? Yeah, Brian. Can you come to the counter? We have situation. Karen, well, what are you waiting for? Go get your stuff and get in the back of the line, starts to go back to her place. Me, what is wrong with you, woman? Karen, what is wrong with you, young man? You cannot cut in line. It's against the law. Meanwhile, Brian arrives. Brian separates us both and gets our statements. Apparently, according to her, I cut in line N when she was stopping me through the wine rack tour. Then Brian goes away for a sec to check the camera footage. No change in Karen's face, though. Comes back following conversation goes, Brian, Mom, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store. Karen, why I didn't break the law he did, pointing at me. Why should I leave? I haven't even paid for my stuff. Brian, please leave the store or police will be called. Karen, call them. They will say I'm in my right. Brian sighs, takes out his cell phone and dials the police. A few moments pass by and police come. Take statements from me, Karen, and Brian. Karen went again with the throw wine rack. Police go to the back of the room for the camera footage. Come back and escort her in cuffs to the police car. The whole time she was yelling, this is against the law. I was in my right. You can't do this. What about him? One of the police comes over and technically what she did is assault. Do you want to press charges? Me, hell yes. Then let me sign a paper with my statement and wish me a happy day further. The owner of the store replaced the wine rack with another one they still have in the store. But this one was with more expensive wine. Mine was €80 in total. This one was €95. But didn't charge for the extra €15. I work in a Burger King as it pays slightly better than what I was getting working for my aunt, and I've encountered several Karens before, but this incident was the most recent. Last week I was doing a deep cleaning of the playground due to a birthday party that had just finished up earlier, and it was my last task to do before clocking out. My boss had asked me to close the playground since I'd be deep cleaning, and she didn't want customers to be in contact with any chemicals that I'd be using. While cleaning, I noticed that the AC was out and the playground was extremely hot to the point where I had difficulty breathing. To add to the issue, I'm also extremely allergic to some of the cleaning products that we use. So, I'm basically in an oven with no airflow and using cleaning chemicals that I can't even touch without my skin cracking. I'm struggling to breathe and cleaning, and while doing that, I noticed this man and his daughter, who looks like she'd be at least 4 years old, watching me clean in the main lobby. I didn't think much of it, mainly because I was more worried about getting out of the playground room as quickly as I can. I cleaned the inside of the playground's tubes and slides and any place I'd fit, cleaned the tables and the windows and broom and mop. Throughout this, I have the door to the playground locked. The man and his daughter are sitting outside of the playground, clearly waiting for the door to the playground to open. I get out, taking the cleaning tools with me without locking the playground from the lobby side. I didn't have the keys on me, and you'd only be able to lock the playground without a key from inside its room. So I drop off the cleaning products in the back, and I tell my boss about the AC being out, and to give me the key to lock the playground from the outside. She hands it to me, and I quickly head back to the playground to lock it, worrying that customers might try to get in despite the signs I put up clearly saying the playground was closed. Sure enough, the daughter was going inside the playground with the man holding the door open. I quickly get to him and ask him to take his daughter out, as the playground was closed to do issues with the AC and cleaning chemicals all over the playground. He gets angry, and while grabbing his daughter, he starts yelling at me, "I waited for so long for you to clean up that mess. Why are you closing the playground if the store is still open?" Me, "Sir, the reason is due to my boss telling me to close it. The playground was just cleaned and the chemicals can't be aired out because the AC is down." Entitled man, "When does it open?" Me, "I'm not entirely sure. My boss is calling the repair guy right now, so hopefully it'll be open in the morning." When I told him that, I'm guessing he didn't understand what I said, or he was just too angry to fully listen, but he then said, "Why is the playground only open in the mornings? What kids are going to be here in the playground if they'd be in school?" The day after was Saturday, so I was confused on what he'd meant on that comment, but I shrugged him off. I was already too tired and I was in the middle of an allergy attack to say anything to the man. But that made him even more angry, and he said, "This is so effing insane. I waited for 15 minutes to get my order and the cashiers were giving me attitude, and now you want to close the playground in the middle of the afternoon. I want your boss to fire you." He then rushes out, pulling his crying daughter behind him and leave. I thought that was the end of it, and I'd finally be able to go home to recover from my allergy attack, but not long after the male Karen left, my boss is on the phone with him. I was grabbing my things from the closet where all the employees put their bags, and I can clearly hear him screaming about how can the playground be closed in the afternoon. My boss is trying to calm him down by saying, "Boss, yes sir, I understand your frustration. However, for the safety of your daughter and other customers, I asked my employee to close it." Entitled man, "She gave me attitude. I waited so long for her to finish cleaning, and now my daughter is crying because she couldn't get in." Boss, and I do apologize for closing the playground, but there were signs in front saying that the playground was closed for cleaning and the AC is out. Your daughter could have suffered from heat exhaustion. Entitled man, "But why did the employee tell me that the playground is only open in the mornings? What kids are going to be there in the morning?" Boss, I did not tell my employee that the playground was only open in the mornings. I'll talk with her, though there is a chance that maybe there was a misunderstanding. Our repairman is coming in soon to take a look at our rack, so we hopefully should be open by tomorrow. I sincerely apologize for your inconvenience. The entitled man calmed down after that, and after a few more apologies, their call ended. My boss asked me why did I tell the man about the playground being open in the morning, but when I explained what had happened and what I said, she later understood that it was a misunderstanding. After that, I was free to go home. I haven't seen that male Korean, but I did see his daughter yesterday with an old lady after school let out for the summer, so I'm going to assume that's her grandma. She looked pretty happy, though I feel bad about what happened with her dad. This happened in the early 2010s, before the advancement of technology in video editing and content creation. I was hired as a content creator for a university that wanted to leverage YouTube to kickstart their branding campaign. The pay was low, roughly $2,200. And in those days, there were not that many video content creators around, and the process usually took a long time from start to finish. I was hired, and on my second day, my manager presented my KPI of 85.3, 10-minute videos in 52 weeks, which was impossible for a one-man team in those days. This meant I had to do the scripting, producing, casting talents, shooting videos, composing music. They were too cheap to pay for a royalty, free music subscription, and editing, all of which I had to use my own equipment and software because their cameras and computers were so old, they simply couldn't handle the strain of even doing things in 720p, much less 1080p. I tried to let my manager know, but she just smiled encouragingly, telling me to give it a try, assuring me if the videos were good, the quantity would not be what she focused on. Hearing this, I agreed to give it a try. My manager treated me well in the first month, however, one day when she found out I was a smoker, her attitude changed overnight. A colleague had actually done a facepalm when I told her about it, and she let me know that the manager hated smokers and often advocated to get them fired. She started nitpicking me on everything, from smelling like cigarette smoke after my breaks, coming in 5-10 minutes late despite doing more than 4 hours of overtime daily, not being contactable during break times. The list goes on. But I soldiered on because I just wanted to do the work and do it well. 5 months in, I was called into the director's office where I saw my manager putting on her best displeased but gleeful face, and I felt my stomach drop. The director told me that she was disappointed because she had heard that I was falling behind on my work, and it was already halfway through the year, and I had only completed 30 out of my 85 videos. I tried to explain that I had been working my butt off on these videos. I literally worked 6 days out of the week, over 60 hours just to do what needed to be done, and that being a one-man army made things impossible. And also the fact that the videos I had put up grossed the highest views ever on their YouTube page. I also recounted how my manager said that she was looking for quality videos over quantity. The director dismissed this and stated that the KPI was simply 85 videos in a year, and since it was almost half a year in with my numbers at less than half, she felt it prudent to cut the cord early. I asked, how would they even meet the KPI if they were to fire me now? My manager had snorted, saying we'll find a professional production house to finish your work. The director had given her an odd look, but nodded in her support nonetheless, telling me, you don't need to worry. Manager will get the job done. That was when a light bulb went off in my head. Seeing as I was the content professional in the office, one of my jobs was to keep a database of production houses to use in the event we needed to do a shoot that required more resources. And I was sure that they would be using the production houses in my database, as my manager had no contacts in the production industry. So, I changed the contact numbers and messed up all the emails on all of the entries except one. The one, I had a friend working as a junior director, not an assistant director, but a director assigned to smaller video projects. I gave him a call and told him of my plan, and sure enough, within 2 days, they were called to come in to pitch. I told him that I had a plan that was a win-win for us. It would instantly help him and put him on the fast track to a director position by bringing in that much business to his production house, and it would also benefit me financially. I would teach him exactly how to pitch to win over the boss and the director, and in turn, his company would pay me a standard finder's fee of $15. He agreed instantly and immediately put me on the line with his general manager, who, upon realizing this was to be 6 months of work for a high 6-digit payout, instantly agreed and drew up a contract. As it turns out, after I gave them a metaphorical step-by-step playbook, they were the perfect fit, somehow understanding the needs and style of the university as well as the sort of themes the university wanted to feature. The director and my former boss were amazed that my friend's production house was so familiar with their content that they signed them up on the spot. Now, even back then, using a production house back then was not cheap. Each video that they produced could cost double to triple my monthly salary, given that they had specialized people for each function. Producer-director, director of photography, gaffer, sound person, video editor, assistant director, production assistants, etc. But this meant that they could complete a video every 2-3 days. So yes, they produced 50 videos in a span of 4 months for over 100 months of my salary, and I sat back and collected the healthy 15s, which was about 15 months of my salary. This allowed me to put money aside for a holiday and the rest to further my studies with a respected film school overseas. I thought my plan ended here and I had gotten back at my former bosses, but to my surprise, I received a call from my colleague while I was holidaying in Bali one day. This was the same colleague who had facepalmed when I told her that my manager had found out that I was a smoker. She told me that my former manager had been fired and my director given a massive blasting by the chancellor of the university. The content creation project which I was hired for was only given a budget equating to about a year and a half of my salary, and they had exceeded that budget by over 10 times. My former manager was so desperate to ensure that her content creation project could be completed that she had thrown caution to the wind, paying anything to get the job done so that she could show my director that she had completed the project and had approved the massive spend without getting consent from the director. So that is how I got my friend a super fast promotion to a full director in his production house and a year of pay after getting unfairly fired from my job. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. Well, let's start a few years in the past. My great-grandparents planted an orchard. It is now at least 120 years old. My grandparents and my parents were really proud of the peach trees growing in it and did their best to keep them in good health and well. We always threw a big party when the peaches were ready to be harvested and invited all of our friends and neighbors to it. I love those parties. The neighbors on the property to the south of our orchard were particularly fond of our peaches. They were a bunch of fine old people, and me and the old man, Sam, were pretty good friends. He taught me a lot about woodworking with hand tools only, and we had some great evenings in his workshop, and we finished many good whiskeys there together. In return, he got a lot of fine peaches, marmalade, homemade peach liqueur, etc. Sadly, he died a good 10 years ago. Cancer is a real asshole. His wife followed soon after. Many suspected it was of a broken heart. They had no kids, so all of their property was left to the state, except his tools and whiskey collection, which he had gifted me a few weeks before he died. In comes Karen. The name speaks for itself. Haircut, attitude, bitchiness, the whole deal. She bought the property of my late neighbors. We hadn't had the kind of money to buy it at that time, as we had met some dire straits the years before and all our savings were gone. The first thing she did before she actually moved in was to go around and make demands of the neighbors on the surrounding properties. When it was finally our turn to listen to her gibberish, she told us that we needed to remove half of the trees, as the leaves were blowing on her property. We told her, in a polite way, that we won't comply with her demands as the orchard is a vital part of our family heritage tradition in life and has been there for at least 120 years. She was pretty pissed but did nothing for the time being. There are some things you need to know before I continue with the story. The workshop I mentioned before was situated right at the border to our property. It was a small timber frame building, at least 160 to 180 years old. The regulations in my state are pretty strict concerning old structures. Every structure over 100 years old is protected, and you need special permission to tear it down. Failing to get this permission can lead to a hefty fine. To get the permission to build a new building, it has to be up to code, and you have to ask your surrounding neighbors, and if they agree, you're good to go. Except there is one speciality in my county. You have to keep a certain distance to the border of the property to allow emergency services full access to your property. If one of these requirements isn't met, the building is illegal or at least only partially legal and can actually be ordered by court to be torn down. That might come in handy later. So, back to my Karen. After our first encounter with her, she did her best to pester the whole neighborhood. She got the neighbor's dog put down because he allegedly attacked her brat. It later turned out she faked the attack. The dog was the sweetest and most innocent dog you could imagine. A Bernese mountain dog, big but a real teddy bear. Anyways, she later got us to stop doing our annual peach parties, as she called the police every time for various reasons. Noise complaints. We had a band playing there in the afternoon. Arson. We lit a fire in a designated fire pit in the middle of our property. She called the ADF on us. Allegedly making moonshine, my dad had a license to distill for our own consumption. In short, she was a real pain in the bum, and after 3 years we decided it wasn't worth it to deal with various officers and law enforcement agencies every time we threw the party, and we decided to quit. After she had reached this goal, she resorted to pestering us to remove the orchard. We didn't cave in, and some things started to get really fishy. Somehow the tires of our trucks got slashed, eggs got thrown on our farmhouse, our cat disappeared and surfaced a few days later in pretty rough condition. It looked like somebody had tried to cut his tail off. Don't worry, he healed up completely, but we actually couldn't prove that she did all that. Then came the day she made her biggest mistake. She had a company come in a sort of secret operation and tear down the old woodworking workshop overnight. 2 days later, they started building a big garage recreational center house right where the shop was, but she missed one fine detail, which got pretty important later on. She didn't ask for a permission, nor for the neighbors. A short while after, the trees right next to her property started to get sick. The leaves turned brown in the middle of summer, and branches started to die. We lost 4 trees before we figured out the cause. Somebody had driven long copper nails into them. We had a suspicion, but we couldn't prove it. So we put up some trail cameras. Perfectly legal, as it was on our own property. We caught her red-handed. My dad confronted her. She apologized, and my dad, being the way too nice guy he is, wanted to let her get off the hook. But not me. The nail she drove into our oldest tree was the final nail to her coffin. I started to investigate. I had some friends at the administration of our county and asked them to do some inquiries. Turned out she hasn't applied for permission to tear down the old shop, nor for permission to build a new building. I further did some inquiries on the borderline of our property. Turned out the old markers vanished over time and her building was about 3 feet on our property. After I'd gathered all this information, I presented it to my parents. At first they were reluctant as they didn't want to start a neighborhood clash. But after I recalled all the things she did to us and our neighbors, they were in. So let the games begin. First, we called the authorities on her for tearing down a protected building and presented them with all the evidence we gathered. Then we called the building authorities on her for building a building without permission, not up to code, and not only didn't she keep the required distance to the property border, she also built on our property without our permission. Long story short, it turns out the workshop hasn't only been protected because of its age, but also because it was a historical landmark which played a vital role in a conflict back in the 1860s. She got sued for this and had to pay a fine of an equivalent of about $150,000. She further had to demolish her newly built building, costing an additional $50,000. Got fined for this too, about $83,000, and had to rebuild the workshop on her own expense, which was another whopping $154,000, as it had to be period corrected up to the smallest detail. It means it had to be built with the correct materials, with hand tool only and to the correct dimensions. As you can imagine, paying professionals to build quite a large timber frame building only by hand gets pretty expensive pretty fast. So all in all, it cost her an equivalent of $437,000 plus further expenses as lawyers, etc. This caused her to go bankrupt, so she had to sell the property in the end, which my parents bought, by the way. Last I heard of her was that she moved back to the big city. Hello, I remembered this gem from a few years ago and think this will be perfect for this channel. Also, apologies for this being so long. So much happened here that I just remembered. Also, I'm a junior in high school, currently on summer break, about to be a senior. This happened back in 2019 when I was in 6th grade summer break, going on to 7th grade. On that day, I was invited to a pool party for my dad's friend's daughter returning from vacation in Mexico with her grandmother. We'll call the daughter E.D., entitled Daughter. Well, A.D. was just returning and wanted to go swimming. She just got a pool built in her backyard that looked identical to mine, just hers had a hot tub, ours did not. I expected to just go to EM house, entitled Mom, because she lived next door. Turns out, the party wasn't at her house. I assumed this meant we would be going to a friend's house in the neighborhood, but no. We all hopped into the car to head to the public pool. I was cool with it. Thankfully, my mom gave me money for food just in case the pool party wasn't at somebody's house. We get to the pool just for EM to expect us to pay for our own bracelet. I'm cool with it due to having my own money, but I was confused. I assumed since she invited us out she was paying for us. I pay for my ticket, but I turn to see my friends. I'll call them Esmeralda and Ashley. Esmeralda is the younger one of the sisters close to AD age, and the older sister Ashley is about my age. They both didn't bring any money because we thought we were swimming at somebody's house and not a public pool. Em started scolding them and paid mumbling about how their mom owes them now. Isabella, the youngest there, paid for herself because her family had gave her money. Lastly, ED, older cousin by 3 years, was paid for only because his family and his mom was sending money to his aunt when he stayed there. So we finally get in, and I'm really hungry and decided I'm going to eat first because I skipped breakfast, I think. I got a lot of food due to my mom giving me $20. From what I remember, I got a hot dog, some chips, ice cream, and slushy. I understand how crazy it was that I ate that, but I had some issues at the time at home. To sum it, because I don't feel like getting too into it, basically to sum it up, I ate whatever I wanted when I wasn't home because my family was controlling over food. I also had health issues that made me eat more plus medication. Anyways, EM looked at me in disgust and said you shouldn't eat all that because she wandered off. I knew what she was trying to say, but she remembered that my dad is friends with her fiancé, and if she said what she was planning to say, it can cause issues. So she remembered something she thought would work. She said your mom wouldn't be okay with you eating all that. I responded, but I don't recall what it was that I told her. I got into the pool after eating and played in the water for a bit. Every time I lightly splashed my friend Ashley, or EDM would get mad and yell at me and Ashley because we were the oldest and should act our age. We were also then expected to watch the little kids and follow them around. Me and Ashley didn't want to, but did so because it got embarrassing being stared at by everyone when EM would yell at us. Me and Ashley barely got to do what we wanted in the pool, mind. Me and Ashley are in 6th and 7th grade watching a 4th grader, 3rd grader, and a 2nd grader, instead of enjoying pool. If me and Ashley knew we were going to be used as unpaid babysitters, we would have stayed home and swam at my house. The kids got out of the pool because they got hungry. So we followed. I also wanted a popsicle because it hit 103 day at that time. When we first got to the pool, it was about 95 days. EM side-eyed me and said, you don't need any more food because I ate 4 hours ago. We were at this pool for about 9 hours in total. I said, I know, but I just want a popsicle. So she allowed me to take my coin purse back and buy one. At first she said, I have to give the other kids the rest of my money so they can eat. I lied and said popsicles were $2 and I only have 2 left. EM got upset and scolded me, saying I shouldn't have gotten all that food and now the other wouldn't get to eat. I brought my own money, so did Isabella. EM pulled out $5 and told them to share, but when Isabella refused the money saying she had her own, EM asked how much she had, and she said she had $30 or $40, but her mom said it's only for her and to return the rest to her mom. EM took back her $5 and said Isabella has to pay for all the kids because she has the most money, and her mom would be fine with it. Also, EM never paid back Isabella's mom. The kids cost her $30. I got a popsicle and I bought the last Sour Patch Kids, which was for my older brother because he was summer nice to me that week. I enjoyed 2 popsicles and placed the candy in my bag secretly because I didn't want to let the other kids see the candy. EM shamed Jack, Isabella, ED, and Esmeralda for what they got. I shared with Ashley some of my food because we were super close. EM was mad that I didn't share with her daughter AD. We went swimming again afterwards and came back a few hours later, 2 EM complaining about random stuff, then wanting to leave. So we packed up our stuff, and Ashley was complaining about hunger to me quietly too, not be scolded by EM for not making Isabella pay for her meal. So I gave her a few Sour Patch Kids because I accidentally opened the box when I grabbed my clothes. I put the box back quietly, and then I turned to EM, who was shaming me for buying candy and not sharing with the other kids. She then says, OP, you need to share with the other kids because you ate enough for today. When the other kids heard I had candy, they all ran up begging for candy. When I tried to explain to EM the candy is mainly for my brother, she accused me of lying and said I had to share. The kids ran to my bag and excited for candy, and EM took the candy from my bag and shared it between all the kids. After give the kids handfuls of candy, she gave me and Ashley 3 pieces each for being greedy. The only thing that kept me looking forward to this day was going to pick up ice cream at an ice cream shop. As soon as we got close, though, EM said we don't deserve ice cream and said we will get some at her house. As soon as we get there, we got mini Otter Pops. Ashley declined because she wanted ice cream and went home to get some from her house. Everyone else, shockingly enough, including me, got an Otter Pop. Only half, though, because we didn't deserve a full Otter Pop. It was also the mini Otter Pops. I went home disappointed but didn't tell my parents for fear of getting trouble for the food I ate. I cut off my toxic mother, and this is what she did. For some backstory here, my parents had shared custody of me a couple months ago. I had just gotten back from visiting my grandparents in my hometown. Both my father and stepmother sat me down to have a talk. They said that social services were becoming more concerned over me and my siblings' well-being at my bio mother's home, especially with her just being charged and all. So they asked me, since I'd already been thinking about leaving, if I wanted to leave at the end of the next week I would be at her home. I said yes, but it was a very hard decision for me to make. Not because of my mom, but because of my younger half-siblings that lived with her. The time I'd spent living in her home created so much trauma for me. Her boyfriend would verbally and emotionally abuse me, as well as blame anything that went wrong on me. I once asked him why he hated me so much, and he said, because you look like your father. My father had done nothing to him. My bio mother and him would also fight all the time. I would have to try to take my siblings out of the room so they wouldn't hear it. They had been together since I was 5, and I am now currently 15, and I believe they are still together. I left that week because I was reaching my breaking point. I hated going there. The week I planned to leave on, I decided to write her a letter telling her why I had left. I wasn't expecting that great of a response, to be honest, though, because in the past, when I would try to tell her how I was feeling about anything, she would just brush it to the side. She would get mad at me, too, for saying how I was feeling and would make anything I said all about her. So here was the letter I left for her. Dear Mother, I have decided to write this letter to you as a type of farewell, at least for now. I'm going to be living at Father's house full-time from now on, and by the time you read this letter, I will have already left your home. I know hearing this will probably upset you, and I'm sorry for doing so. But this is all for the best. I don't really know how to put all my feelings into words for you, and I have always had trouble with that. I just want you to know that the reason I myself am leaving is because I don't think you're a bad person, Mother, but I do think that before I can come and start visiting you again, you need to get help. By how things were going, this decision was not just up to me at this point in time. Also, please don't blame Jenna and Father too much. They just honestly want what is best for me and my mental health. To be honest, I have many more things I would like to tell you, but I gave up on that idea a while ago. Every time I would try to share my feelings with you, you would never really listen, and sometimes even become angry at me. That's why, if you noticed, I have become more distant towards you. Furthermore, all the lying, saying hurtful things about me and the excuses, I have become to not trust you. I really wanted to believe that it would never have to come to this again, but Mother, you were the one that decided it did. I hope to be able to see you again once you've gotten the things you need and when I'm ready as well. I'll always love you and wish the best for you, even if you don't believe so. Farewell, Mother. Hopefully we will be able to meet again someday. I tried to express all these feelings to her and see if she would maybe understand why I decided to leave. But she just responded to me with these messages. Amazing! I do not know how you could give up on a parent. I never could do that, and I've had screwed up parents. My mother has a mental illness my whole life, and I would never do to her what you just did to me. My dad is an ass, but I still could never do what you just did to me. Love you, but will never understand your cruel nature. You never got that from me. Then she sent me this the next day. If you want to stay at your father's permanently, that is your choice. It sucks for me as I do love you. I have moved for you and everything else, but it seems I am never good enough. Furthermore, since my father still had to be in contact with her for certain things, I asked him to ask her if they could somehow plan for me to see my siblings, and this is what she said about it. You will need to come and talk to me before I agree to anything. After this message, it was just the same B's over and over. Or saying how she didn't trust me to see my siblings. I mean, it's not like I pretty much raised them myself anyways, right? I haven't heard or seen my siblings in 3 months, and it's really affecting me badly. But today I was told that I was going to be able to see them next Friday, and I'm so excited and happy. Although there was a catch, my bio mom has to be there. My father and stepmom and a social worker is going to be there, though. I just hope she doesn't still try to ruin my visit with my siblings somehow. P.S. I want to say I wrote this all to myself a couple years ago. I'm now 17 and I can tell you a lot of things have happened. Let me know if you want some of the details. My life has been a mess. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences, opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.